Far beyond the bright blue of Earth, in the deep darkness of space, the Galactic Council sat in silence. Stars glittered outside the enormous glass walls of their floating chamber, but inside, everything was tense. Alien leaders of hundreds of worlds gathered together. They had one topic on the table: Earth. Reports came in from scouts and satellites that circled the small planet. The words on their screens made some leaders chuckle, others frown, and a few shake their many heads. Humans are chaotic, one alien said, his voice like metal scraping on stone. They argue among themselves constantly. They are weak, emotional, and dangerous only to themselves. Another leader, her skin like polished silver, tapped a claw on the table. They have no fleet worthy of note. Their weapons are primitive. And yet, they are alive. They breathe. They think. But compared to us, they are nothing. Harmless. The council agreed. A unanimous decision formed quickly. Earth could be taken without a fight. It was a small, slow species at the edge of the galaxy. Why waste fleets and resources on a world that could barely defend itself? Far below, humans went about their lives, completely unaware of the council's plans. Cities buzzed with cars, lights, and people talking loudly on small screens. Children ran in parks, laughing, unaware of the universe beyond their sky. Farmers worked in fields, engineers fixed machines, and soldiers trained for things humans could not even imagine yet. Yet, somewhere deep in the governments and secret agencies of Earth, there was a quiet feeling. Something was wrong. It was not fear, it was instinct. Humans had always survived. They had faced countless dangers, and somehow, even the impossible seemed manageable. The first sign came from satellites. Strange readings from space debris, moving in patterns no human had seen before. Scientists argued over the data. It is just a meteor shower, one said. Nothing to worry about. Another shook his head. No, something else is out there. Something big. The military, usually slow to act, began quietly preparing. Ships in orbit were moved to secret locations. Old satellites, meant only to monitor the weather, were fitted with defensive systems. Humans argued, as they always did, but beneath the arguments was a thread of unity. When the threat became clear, they could act together. Meanwhile, scouts from the alien empire began to approach Earth. Massive ships, sleek and deadly, moved silently through the void. They did not expect resistance. Their commanders believed the humans would surrender without a fight. Their sensors showed no powerful fleets, no advanced weapons, just a small blue world full of fragile creatures. Humans noticed the scouts. Radar signals, unusual energy readings, strange communications, all pointed to something bigger than any natural event. At first, people laughed. Aliens? Really? Children asked their parents. Adults shrugged. Science fiction, they said. But quietly, governments began tracking the movements. Files were opened that had been locked for decades. Experts were called. Scientists, engineers, military leaders. They all worked in secret, not panicking, but preparing. The aliens moved closer. Their fleet cast enormous shadows over Earth's orbit. Satellites blinked. Cities did not see anything unusual, but the skies changed subtly. Birds moved in strange patterns. Fish swam differently. Animals, sensitive to energy and vibrations, sensed the danger first. Humans did not show fear. Fear was useful, yes, but it could also paralyze. They acted in ways alien scouts could not predict. Engineers built strange machines. Soldiers trained in new formations. Scientists created systems that could control or destroy approaching ships. And humans watched and learned, quietly, without alerting the invaders. The Council scouts reported back. They do nothing. They seem unprepared. We can take the planet in days, the report said. The alien empire laughed. Their leaders were confident. No one expected humans to act quickly, and even if they did, the aliens believed it would not matter. But the humans had something no alien expected: unpredictability. They could argue, shout, and seem weak. But beneath the chaos, there was thought, planning, and determination. Humans had survived plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other civilizations. And now, a new challenge was coming. Night fell on Earth. Cities lit up with golden lights. Families slept. Soldiers trained in secret bunkers. Engineers adjusted satellites. Scientists watched the skies. No one outside the inner circle knew what was happening, but the planet itself seemed alive, waiting. Then, something strange happened. The first human-made signal hit an alien scout ship, a tiny pulse, barely detectable. But it was enough. The pulse made the ship's systems glitch. The aliens blinked in surprise. Impossible, one said. They cannot do this. They are too primitive. Humans did not celebrate. They did not boast. They only watched, learning from each movement of the alien fleet. Every mistake the aliens made was studied, every weakness remembered. The humans were ready to turn the galaxy's assumptions upside down. Far above, the council continued their meetings. They had made a mistake, but they did not yet know it. They assumed humans were weak, simple, and unworthy of attention. That assumption would be the first of many, and it would cost the galaxy more than anyone could imagine. For now, humans waited. Silent, calm, watching, preparing. And the galaxy thought it was nothing. But humans were not nothing. They never had been. And soon, the universe would learn the same lesson that humans did not panic. That was the first thing the aliens did not understand. While the alien scouts moved closer, expecting fear and chaos, humans acted quietly, calmly, and with purpose. The world appeared normal on the surface. People went to work, children went to school, and cities continued to glow with life. But beneath that calm, something extraordinary was happening. Governments around the world had begun secret meetings. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and intelligence agents gathered in underground bunkers and hidden research facilities. They did not argue about blame or politics. They focused only on survival. Old ships, long used for research or space travel training, were pulled out of storage. Satellites designed to watch storms or track space debris were fitted with defensive and offensive systems. Humans learned to turn everyday tools into weapons, old machines into advanced systems, and small ideas into huge advantages. Even the media, often full of distraction and noise, played a role without knowing it. News channels covered normal events, weather reports, space launches, and technological breakthroughs. But beneath those stories, coded messages moved between scientists and military leaders. Humans had always been clever at hiding their true intentions, and now that cleverness became their greatest weapon. Meanwhile, alien scouts studied Earth's defenses, or what they thought were defenses. They saw little. No massive fleets, no advanced laser arrays, no obvious signs of readiness. Primitive, one alien commander muttered. These humans are useless. They cannot possibly fight us. That was exactly what humans wanted them to believe. For centuries, humans had learned the power of deception. They could appear weak, unprepared, or chaotic. But beneath that appearance, they could move mountains, build machines, and adapt faster than anyone expected. The alien commanders underestimated the most dangerous trait of humanity: unpredictability. In hidden laboratories, humans worked around the clock. Engineers converted small satellites into weapons that could disable alien ships without being seen. Scientists developed programs that could hack and confuse enemy systems. Pilots trained in small, fast craft, learning maneuvers no alien had ever encountered. They practiced day and night, learning to use the unpredictable nature of Earth's environment, the storms, the clouds, the magnetic fields, to their advantage. Even ordinary people played a role. Farmers, factory workers, teachers, and students learned small ways to contribute. Communication networks were upgraded to handle emergencies. Every citizen, without knowing the full plan, became a part of a growing human shield. The aliens might have thought humans were unprepared, but in truth, the entire planet moved as one organism, each part aware of its role, each person ready to act. Meanwhile, the alien scouts began to grow curious. They noticed odd signals, tiny pulses, small bursts of energy in patterns that made no sense. They could not understand what humans were doing. They are primitive, one said. Yet these patterns, they are strange. Something is happening. But what? How? Humans, of course, did not answer. They did not need to. The more the aliens watched, the more confident they became that nothing significant was occurring. Every day, humans pretended to be the same species the galaxy had always seen: loud, messy, emotional, and slow. But inside hidden command centers, humans were calm, organized, and precise. The first defensive tests began. Small probes were sent to orbit, appearing harmless. They were equipped with sensors, hacking devices, and small weapons systems. Engineers monitored everything remotely. When a probe detected alien activity, it would send information back immediately. Humans learned the alien fleet's patterns, their communication methods, and their weaknesses. Every detail was studied, every weakness remembered. Soldiers trained not just with weapons, but with strategy. They did not fight blindly. They learned patience, timing, and creativity. Small teams practiced ambushes, counterattacks, and ways to outthink an enemy far stronger than themselves. They simulated battles over and over, learning from mistakes, and then improving. The aliens believed humans would panic in battle. But humans prepared to fight with intelligence and imagination, not just brute force. In the skies above, satellites moved in strange patterns. They were harmless to the untrained eye. But for humans, they were part of a network, a web that could see everything, communicate instantly, and strike anywhere at any time. These satellites, combined with human ingenuity, would become the first line of defense against the alien fleet. Even as humans prepared, they did not show fear. Fear can be useful, but it can also paralyze. Humans felt fear, of course, but they used it as fuel, not as a reason to stop. Every mistake they had survived in the past, every disaster, every war, had taught them one lesson. Action, preparation, and unity were stronger than panic. Meanwhile, alien scouts continued their reports. The humans are preparing nothing, they insisted. They are harmless. But inside the hidden command centers on Earth, humans laughed quietly at the reports. They did not need the aliens to understand. They only needed to be ready. And they were. The day the first alien fleet entered the outer edge of Earth's solar system, humans were ready. Not with fanfare or noise, but with quiet preparation that no one could see. Engineers activated hidden systems. Satellites adjusted positions. Pilots waited for the signal. Scientists monitored alien communications. And all over Earth, civilians continued their lives as if nothing were wrong. The aliens thought they had the advantage. They believed the humans were weak, unprepared, and easy to conquer. That belief was their first mistake. Humans did not strike yet. They waited. Patience was part of their plan. They studied every movement of the alien fleet, learned from every signal, and prepared to use every advantage they had gathered in secret. And when the moment came, the galaxy would see what humans had always known. They were not weak. They were not fragile. They were unpredictable, clever, and unstoppable. The quiet preparation was the calm before a storm. And soon, the storm would show the galaxy. The alien fleet moved silently through the void of space. Massive ships, shaped like long blades of metal and dark crystals, glided toward Earth. They had done this countless times before, conquering worlds that were smaller, weaker, and easier to control. This time, they thought, would be no different. Humans would panic. Humans would beg. Humans would surrender. But humans did not panic. Not even a little. From hidden command centers on Earth, signals began to move. Small pulses, almost invisible to the alien sensors, raced through the void. The alien ships flickered, their systems glitching for just a moment. The first shock came silently, unnoticed by the galaxy. Inside the alien command bridge, confusion erupted. What happened? The fleet commander shouted, his multiple eyes blinking in disbelief. Our systems, they are failing. This is impossible. These humans, primitive humans, are interfering. On Earth, engineers and scientists monitored the fleet in real time. They had predicted these weaknesses, studied the alien technology for months, and now it was paying off. Every human move was deliberate. Every pulse of energy, every hacked signal, every satellite adjustment was part of a plan that the aliens could not understand. Then the humans struck. Small craft, fast and nearly invisible, emerged from Earth's orbit. They darted through space like swarms of tiny comets, moving in patterns that no alien pilot had ever encountered. Each human ship carried weapons, yes, but the real weapon was strategy. Humans hit key points on alien ships, systems that controlled navigation, communication, and weapons. Then, before the aliens could respond, the ships vanished into the shadows. Alien panic spread like wildfire. They are too fast. They disappear. How? One officer screamed. These humans are clever. Too clever. Humans did not celebrate. They never did. Every attack was measured, precise, and only the beginning. Pilots returned to hidden stations, engineers analyzed the results, and scientists calculated the next steps. Nothing was left to chance. Every alien reaction was studied, every weakness noted. Humans learned from the enemy faster than the enemy could learn from them. On the alien command bridge, fear began to creep in. How can this be? They have no fleet worthy of note. No advanced weapons. They should be weak. Yet they strike without warning and vanish. The commander's voice shook with anger and disbelief. Prepare the second wave. Destroy them. The second wave came. Larger alien ships moved forward, deploying their most powerful weapons. Massive energy beams cut through space, aiming for the tiny human craft. But humans had anticipated this. The ships dodged with impossible precision. Satellites disrupted alien targeting systems. Hidden pulses of energy scrambled weapons before they could fire. The humans moved like ghosts, every step calculated, every movement unseen until it was too late. Back on Earth, civilians were still unaware of the chaos unfolding above. Children played in parks. Farmers tended fields. People went to work. The world seemed normal. Only in the hidden command centers did humans feel the tension, the thrill, and the satisfaction of seeing months of preparation finally working. The first major alien ship exploded in space. Its destruction was sudden and complete, leaving fragments that burned like tiny stars. The aliens stared in horror. Impossible. How can they destroy a warship with such ease? The humans had anticipated this too. They studied the ship's weaknesses, targeted vulnerable points, and struck with efficiency and precision. It was not just strength that won battles, it was understanding. Humans knew that clever use of knowledge, timing, and unpredictability could beat brute force. Alien morale dropped sharply. Pilots refused to fight. Officers argued with each other. For the first time in centuries, a fleet thought invincible now questioned its own skill. The humans, in contrast, remained calm, focused, and united. They adapted to every attack, learned from every mistake, and prepared the next move faster than the aliens could react. The first shock was not just the destruction of ships. It was the realization humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. They were dangerous, clever, and willing to fight with every resource they had. The galaxy had always seen humans as emotional, foolish, and disorganized. Now, the aliens saw the truth. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability in war was a weapon stronger than any laser, missile, or fleet. Back on Earth, news channels continued to broadcast normal programs. Schools, offices, and cities operated as usual. It was the human way. The enemy could see some signals, some actions, but never the full scale of preparation. Humans hid strength in plain sight. They disguised strategy as chaos, tactics as improvisation, and power as patience. By the time the alien fleet realized their mistake, it was too late. Small human ships had already disabled multiple command systems, blocked communication lines, and created confusion among alien officers. Panic spread faster than the humans could strike. Every alien decision was delayed, every command questioned, every order doubted. Humans had turned the tide with the first shock. The aliens had assumed victory was theirs, but Earth had a secret weapon the galaxy had ignored: intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Every human had been underestimated. Every human had been ignored. And now, every human was proving the galaxy wrong. The alien commander, pale with shock, screamed orders that came too late. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and systems failed. The humans had studied every weakness and exploited it perfectly. The first major encounter ended with Earth victorious, not through raw power, but through patience, planning, and cleverness. And still, humans did not celebrate. They waited, watched, and learned. The alien fleet was weakened but not defeated. Humans knew the war had only begun. The first shock was only the start of a campaign that would change the galaxy forever. The lesson was clear: do not underestimate humans. Never assume weakness. Never dismiss intelligence wrapped in unpredictability. Because when the galaxy the alien fleet was stunned. Their scouts reported that humans had struck first and struck hard, leaving destruction in their wake. Entire warships had been disabled in moments. Yet, despite the shock and the loss, the aliens refused to retreat. Pride and arrogance held them in place. They had underestimated humans once. They refused to underestimate them again. But humans had anticipated this reaction. They had prepared for more than one attack. They had trained for strategy, patience, and cunning. The first shock had not been just about destroying ships. It had been about teaching the aliens a lesson that humans were clever, adaptable, and relentless. From Earth, hidden command centers buzzed with activity. Engineers adjusted satellite arrays. Pilots studied alien flight patterns. Scientists recalculated energy pulses. Everything humans did was precise, deliberate, and effective. Every move was a step toward a larger goal, turning the tide of the war before it had truly begun. Human fleets now moved with confidence. Small, agile ships flitted through space, striking key points on the alien vessels. They attacked weak engines, disabled targeting systems, and created chaos without ever putting themselves in unnecessary danger. Each assault was planned to maximize damage while minimizing risk. The humans had learned one critical truth: raw strength could win battles, but intelligence and strategy could win wars. The aliens struggled to respond. Their larger ships, designed to crush planets, were slow and clumsy in comparison to the nimble human craft. Every time they fired a weapon, humans were already gone, their attacks unpredictable and clever. Confusion spread through the fleet like wildfire. Officers argued with each other. Pilots doubted orders. The very arrogance that had brought them to Earth now worked against them. Humans did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival and protection, not just for themselves, but for other species under the Empire's control. From hidden transmissions, enslaved species began to receive messages from Earth. Help is coming. Stand strong. You are not alone. Small groups of aliens who had been oppressed now quietly sabotaged their own fleet. They had nothing to lose, and humans offered hope. Every engagement taught humans something new. Every attack by the aliens revealed a weakness. Every counterattack strengthened human tactics. Engineers modified satellites mid-battle. Pilots adjusted flight patterns on the fly. Scientists sent new strategies instantly to ships in orbit. Humanity's greatest weapon was not firepower, it was adaptability. On the alien flagship, frustration boiled over. They adapt too quickly, the commander shouted. Every tactic we use, they find a counter. Every strike, they are ready. His voice echoed in the massive chamber. Alien officers looked at each other nervously. They had conquered countless worlds. Yet here, they faced a species that refused to act predictably. The turning point came when humans executed a coordinated maneuver that the aliens could not predict. Small ships moved in perfect synchronization, striking multiple vessels at once, then vanishing behind asteroid fields, magnetic storms, and orbital debris. Alien systems failed under the coordinated assault. Ships collided. Missiles misfired. Energy beams overloaded. The fleet was in chaos. From Earth, humans watched and adjusted. No one celebrated too early. Every move was calculated. Every alien response was analyzed. Even as the aliens scrambled, humans struck again and again. Their confidence grew with every victory, not because of arrogance, but because they had prepared for this moment their entire lives, unknowingly, through history, struggle, and survival. Meanwhile, other species began to notice. Planets under the Empire's rule watched as human ships liberated oppressed worlds. Humans did not conquer these planets. They helped rebuild, offered protection, and shared technology. They showed restraint and intelligence, surprising everyone. The galaxy had never seen a species that fought so fiercely yet acted with such morality and wisdom. The aliens' morale collapsed further. Some ships refused orders. Others fled. Communication between commanders became frantic, filled with blame and confusion. How can this be? How can they fight like this? One officer whispered. They had never faced a species like humans before, small, emotional, and underestimated. But humans were proving themselves the equals of any empire. Humans knew the tide had turned, but they did not become careless. They continued to refine their tactics, adapt to alien responses, and strike with precision. Each battle made them stronger. Each victory built experience, skill, and confidence. They learned to predict alien behavior while remaining unpredictable themselves. It was a dance of strategy, patience, and courage. The aliens, meanwhile, were forced to rethink everything. Their pride had blinded them. They had assumed humans would be simple to defeat, yet every prediction had failed. Every attack had been countered. Every plan had been broken. Humans were no longer a minor nuisance. They were a force the galaxy could not ignore. Even from Earth, civilians played a quiet role. Communication networks, energy grids, and hidden satellite systems all contributed to the efforts without most people knowing. Farmers, engineers, and ordinary workers unknowingly helped the fleets function, maintain energy, and keep Earth's defenses invisible. The human strength came not from a single hero or ship, but from the unity of an entire species. As the dust settled from the first major wave of counterattacks, the alien fleet was battered, disorganized, and fearful. Humans had not just survived. They had struck, liberated, and reshaped the battlefield. The galaxy began to watch in silence. Worlds that had ignored Earth now whispered, "Perhaps we underestimated them." Humanity had turned the tide. What the aliens thought would be a simple conquest had become a war they could barely control. The humans, small and underestimated, had shown that determination, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the greatest odds. Yet humans did not celebrate. They waited, observed, and planned the next moves. The battle was far from over. The galaxy had seen the first wave of human strength, but the full power, creativity, and resilience of humanity were only beginning to show. The aliens now knew one truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, fighters, and liberators. And the turning tide. The alien empire had grown arrogant over centuries. Worlds trembled before them, and countless species bowed to their rule. But now, facing humanity, that empire found itself on the edge of collapse. Ships that once inspired fear now floated crippled in space. Commanders shouted orders that were ignored or impossible to execute. Every plan seemed doomed before it even began. From Earth, humans watched the alien fleet carefully. They had studied every weakness, learned every pattern, and prepared for this very moment. Engineers monitored the alien vessels, analyzing energy outputs and weapon capacities. Scientists calculated attack sequences and predicted enemy movements. Pilots, trained for years in simulation and reality, prepared for precision strikes. Humans did not rush into battle. They struck with purpose, patience, and confidence. The aliens made their final stand. Massive warships, armed with devastating energy beams and planetary-destroying weapons, moved toward Earth. They believed that sheer power could end the human threat. Their fleets formed walls of steel and fire, designed to crush any resistance. The galaxy held its breath, certain that this would be humanity's end. But humans had not relied on raw force. They had relied on intelligence, adaptability, and unity. The first strikes were subtle but deadly. Hidden satellites and small craft disabled critical systems on the alien flagship. Communication lines failed, leaving commanders isolated. Energy beams misfired. Weapons jammed. Confusion spread like wildfire. Humans struck not just at ships, but at control systems, morale, and strategy. Every strike had purpose. Every action was calculated. The aliens were stunned. "Impossible," screamed the fleet commander, his voice shaking with rage. "How can they fight like this? How can such a small, primitive species destroy our most powerful ships?" Humans did not answer with words. They answered with action. Pilots moved in coordinated patterns no alien had ever seen. Ships dodged massive weapons, struck vulnerable points, and vanished before retaliation. Engineers on Earth adjusted satellites in real time, sending pulses that scrambled alien systems. Scientists calculated trajectories and energy pulses that ensured every strike hit its mark. Every attack weakened the empire further. Other species watched in awe. Planets long oppressed by the empire saw humans liberate worlds without taking control themselves. Humans offered protection, guidance, and technology, but not domination. The galaxy had never witnessed such a combination of power and morality. Humans fought fiercely, but they fought to save lives, not to conquer. Inside the alien command centers, panic turned to desperation. Officers argued, pilots refused orders, and fleets collided in space. Energy weapons overloaded and ships exploded in brilliant bursts of fire and metal. Every move the Empire made was anticipated and countered. The humans' understanding of their enemies surpassed anything the aliens could comprehend. On Earth, humans did not celebrate. They knew the final battle required focus, precision, and patience. Every success was measured and learned from. Every strike prepared the next. Pilots coordinated with satellites, engineers, and scientists to create a network of attacks that left no weak point. Humans had turned their preparation into an unstoppable force. The alien fleet's morale collapsed. Some ships attempted to retreat, only to find escape routes blocked by human craft and hidden defenses. Officers screamed orders that went unheeded. Confusion reigned. The Empire, once a symbol of invincibility, now appeared fragile and disorganized. Then came the decisive move. Humans, having studied the Empire's entire fleet, identified the flagship, the heart of the alien command. A coordinated strike involving hundreds of human ships, energy pulses, and hidden satellites targeted this vessel. Weapons struck simultaneously, systems failed, and the flagship exploded in a massive fireball visible even from Earth. The destruction sent shockwaves through the remaining fleet. Alien commanders lost control. Without their flagship, communication and coordination collapsed. Ships drifted helplessly in space, weapons useless, engines disabled. Panic turned to surrender in some cases, while others simply fled into the void. The empire that had ruled for centuries was falling, undone by a species it had mocked and ignored. Humans continued their attacks strategically. They did not aim to destroy every alien ship, only those that threatened liberation or could continue the war. They focused on weakening control, disabling weapons, and protecting lives. Every action was precise, calculated, and humane. Humanity fought not just with skill, but with wisdom. The fall of the Empire was swift once the tide turned. Worlds that had cowered under alien control celebrated liberation. Messages of hope spread across the galaxy. Species that had been oppressed now stood free, guided by humans who offered protection without demanding loyalty. Humanity had achieved victory not through domination, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. Even in the final moments, humans showed restraint. They disabled weapons, freed prisoners, and restored communications. They repaired damage caused during battle and helped species rebuild. The galaxy watched in awe. A species once underestimated had not only survived, but had reshaped the balance of power. The alien commanders, those who survived, were forced to accept defeat. They had underestimated humans, dismissed their intelligence, and assumed weakness where there was strength. Now, they faced a species that had proven itself capable of uniting, strategizing, and striking with unparalleled precision. The Empire's fall was complete. Humanity's victory was not celebrated with arrogance. Instead, Earth and its allies quietly began to rebuild. The galaxy had learned a lesson: underestimate humans at your own peril. The species that had always survived disasters, wars, and impossible odds had done it again, on a scale no one could have imagined. From hidden command centers to liberated worlds, humans prepared for the next challenges. The Empire may have fallen, but the galaxy was vast, and threats were never-ending. Yet one truth had been made clear: when underestimated, humanity could rise, fight, and win. No matter the odds, no matter the enemy. The fall of the Empire was not just a military victory. It was a statement to the galaxy. Humans were clever, resilient, and united. They fought not just for survival, but for justice, protection, and freedom. The galaxy would never forget. The war was over. The alien empire had fallen, its fleets destroyed, its leaders scattered or captured. Worlds that had trembled for centuries were now free, and Earth had proven itself as a force the galaxy could not ignore. Yet humans did not celebrate like conquerors. They had never fought for glory or dominance. They fought to survive, to protect, and to bring hope to others. From Earth, humans watched the liberated planets. They sent aid, supplies, and guidance to worlds that had suffered under alien rule. Engineers repaired damaged infrastructure. Scientists shared knowledge of energy, medicine, and space travel. Soldiers helped organize defenses for planets still vulnerable to other threats. Humanity's victory was not an excuse to rule, but a call to help. For many species, the sight of humans was astonishing. They had expected arrogance or greed. They had expected a new empire to replace the old. Instead, humans offered partnership, protection, and guidance without demanding loyalty or submission. Humans taught, shared, and inspired. They had fought with precision, skill, and courage, and now they acted with wisdom, patience, and fairness. Even the Galactic Council, which had once underestimated Earth, was forced to acknowledge the truth. Humans had not only survived an empire's wrath, but they had also reshaped the galaxy's balance of power. Their tactics, adaptability, and ingenuity had won wars without excessive destruction. Their moral choices had gained allies where others would have made enemies. The Council's reports began to speak of humans with a mix of respect, caution, and awe. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal, or at least what humans considered normal. Cities lit up with energy and technology repaired in secret during the war. Families reunited. Children laughed in parks, unaware of the galaxy's gaze upon their planet. Farmers returned to fields. Workers returned to offices. Yet beneath the surface, humans remained vigilant. They had learned the value of preparation, observation, and adaptability. They had learned that survival depended not just on strength, but on intelligence, unity, and the courage to act when necessary. Hidden command centers remained active. Satellites continued to monitor the stars. Scientists and engineers refined weapons and defenses, not for conquest, but for protection. Humans knew the galaxy was vast, and dangers could appear without warning. But Earth had proven that even a small planet of clever, determined beings could change the course of history. Across the liberated worlds, humans established networks of communication and trade. They did not impose rulers or demand taxes. They offered education, technology, and guidance. Planets once oppressed learned to rebuild and defend themselves. Species that had feared extinction now looked to humans for leadership and knowledge, not domination. Humanity had gained influence through wisdom and courage rather than fear and force. Stories of human resilience spread quickly. Across the galaxy, beings whispered of the small blue planet that had stood against an empire. Tales told of human ingenuity, patience, and unity. Of pilots who struck and vanished. Of engineers who disabled entire fleets with tiny machines. Of scientists who predicted enemy movements before they happened. The galaxy began to see humans as something extraordinary, a species that could survive, adapt, and lead without losing their humanity. Even the alien commanders who survived the fall of their empire could not forget the humans. They had underestimated them, laughed at them, and assumed weakness where there was strength. Their arrogance had been their downfall. Now, those commanders warned other species, do not underestimate humans. Learn from them, respect them, or face consequences. The galaxy had learned a lesson that could not be erased. Humanity was clever, relentless, and united. On Earth, ordinary humans went about their daily lives, unaware of how history had changed. Children played, schools continued, farmers worked, and cities thrived. Yet humanity's spirit had shifted. Humans were no longer a minor species on the edge of the galaxy. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. The planet that had once been underestimated had earned its place among the stars. The Galactic Council adjusted its policies. Humans were no longer considered a minor species. They were studied, respected, and included in important decisions. Their insights were sought, their strategies observed. The galaxy recognized that humans had something few species possessed, the ability to adapt, survive, and unite against impossible odds. For humans, the greatest lesson was simple. Strength alone does not define a species. Intelligence, creativity, moral courage, and unity define true power. They had learned that being underestimated could be an advantage. That preparation, patience, and cleverness could turn even the most hopeless situation into victory. That compassion could inspire allies even among the oppressed. And so, humanity took its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as leaders of example. Species that had once feared them now worked with them. Worlds that had trembled before alien fleets now looked to humans for guidance in rebuilding and defense. Humans became symbols of resilience, courage, and ingenuity. Even as peace settled across the liberated worlds, humans remained vigilant. They continued to explore, to study, to prepare. They knew the galaxy was vast, filled with unknown threats and challenges. But Earth had proven that with intelligence, courage, and unity, no challenge was insurmountable. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate humans. Never assume weakness where there is strength. Never dismiss a species that can adapt, learn, and unite when faced with impossible odds. Humans had risen from a small, underestimated planet to a place of respect and influence. They had survived, fought, and won, not through conquest, but through courage, ingenuity, and moral strength. And on Earth, as the stars shone above the blue planet, humans looked toward the future with quiet confidence. They knew they had earned their place in the galaxy. They had survived the impossible, defeated an empire, and inspired countless species. They were no longer underestimated. The galaxy had finally learned the truth. When humanity rises, nothing is impossible. Humans had claimed not just victory, but respect, trust, and a new beginning. They had shown the universe what it meant to be clever, brave, and united. They had proven the greatest lesson of all. The true power of humanity lies not in weapons, fleets, or numbers, but in courage, intelligence, and the relentless will to survive and protect. And with that, Earth stood proudly among the stars, no longer underestimated.